of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now, it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp all around the world on Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio. If you're lucky, you're even listening to us on Roku TV. Roku picks up the iHeart stream. And Time for Hemp also has its own video channel on Roku, so you can check us out there as well. Also, speaking of the timeforhemp.com website, don't forget we are growing cannabis 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can go there and watch Wolf Siegel, the farmer in the sky, who does a show here on the network, do his gardening and plant his seeds, and we're going from seed to flower to smoke to another size garden, and we're going to be doing it for 2 years, so if you like watching paint dry, you're going to love watching flowers grow. It is Wednesday, and on Wednesday we put a spotlight on all the hardworking people around the United States and the world who are making a difference, trying to let the world know that prohibition is a bad thing. And we do so with my joint host, Judge Lenny Frieling. And don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, nearly 2.5 million people all around the world pack their pipes, their bongs, their vaporizers, or twist up a joint and take Time for Hemp. With that said, I'm going to pass this joint chat over to my joint host so our joint guests can get into a joint conversation as I smoke a joint here in the joint at Time for Hemp. Your Honor?
Well, I'm certainly quite glad you didn't say let's wrap it up now or let's roll it up now or anything like that, because frankly I think we're really smoking here, and I would just hate to see that.
All right.
Come on, that should be uproarious laughter. That was brilliant. I guess straight face.
No, I thought that was just the intro to your conversation.
I have no intros. I have the beginning and then I'm done.
So I'll let you introduce our joint guest, Your Honor.
Rudy Roma. Rudy is one of our heroes. Rudy is one of the people that has been not just out there helping the movement, he's been on the air showing his face, showing his very cool cap, by the way, and saying it like it is, telling it like it is. And the bottom line is really kind of amusing. All we want to do is spread the truth. Is that complicated? Is that controversial? I don't think so. If you're saying, let's end the war in Vietnam, all right, that's complicated. We all knew what the right answer was at the time, but it's, arguably not that simple. Legalize pot? Give me a break. Give me a break. If you're flying a jet fighter and marijuana doesn't agree with you well, then I highly recommend you don't smoke a joint and then fly an F-14. On the other hand, for most people, this is going to be fun. For most people, their work is so downright crap that it couldn't be worse. I don't care how much they smoked. It couldn't be worse. So smoke something. Do me a favor. Put my battery in the right way in the package you sent me with batteries included. It's not that hard. Smoke a joint. Read the instructions. You want to skip the instructions? Fine, you'll get it wrong. Smoke the joint anyway. You're going to get it wrong anyway. Can I say that, Casper?
You can. You can. And who is our guest today?
Our guest today is Rudy Roma, one of the heroes of the movement. Rudy, I'm going to ask you to brag about yourself. Why is it that I'm sitting here saying Rudy Roma, one of the heroes of the movement? What have you been doing in this movement? Why are you here?
Why am I here? Well, for the last several years.
Aside from the salary.
Aside from the salary. Well, I became passionate about cannabis when I started reading more and more information. I grew up during the time, I was born in the 66, so I just turned 50. And during the time of me growing up, we had Nancy Reagan, Just Say No. My parents, followed the letter of the law. So I never had an opportunity to ever have marijuana or cannabis in my radar growing up. It wasn't until my 20s, and I had a good bout with. I had an opportunity to try cannabis, and I did for 3 years. Subsequently, I ended up stopping because I guess I was consuming a little bit too much, and then I just stopped for 20 years. And some years ago, about 5 years ago, I had an opportunity to start looking. Cannabis came on my radar, and I started looking at this the plan. I started looking at how. Reports of it helping people with different disorders. 4 years ago, I heard of 2 young girls. One was a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old. Both of them using cannabis oil, and both in remission. Well, my first daughter, at the age of 8 months old, was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. So only 3 children in the U.S. ever get this particular disorder under the age of 12 months. And that was my daughter's. She was diagnosed. For 7 months, she went through radiation chemotherapy. Needless to say, it did not work. She was in hospice care. They took her off the chemotherapy. And it wasn't only until the last 2 weeks of her life that I swore to God that, that I could have thought that she was getting better, because she started to smile. She started to feel better. She started walking better. And it was just that the chemotherapy was coming out of her system. And I started to realize, and then she passed on. And it wasn't until that feeling and all those pent-up issues were in my core. And then when I met started reading about these 2 young girls, that really kind of opened up my journey into looking at this product. I mean, at cannabinoids and the different opportunities that it's afforded quality of life to people. So that led me to research, and then I started 420 Insight. I got my medical cannabis card, and it changed my life. Literally, it had changed my life from a point of how I saw things. Within 10 months, I lost 85 pounds. So I had a physical, physically, it helped me to have better quality of life. Mentally, it helped me draw better decision making when it comes to, because I'm OCD, my minds are scattered at times because I've got so much coming in, and it helped me really kind of focus things and put things in perspective. So it allowed me to do that. And due to that, the education, due to that, it became a point of wanting to get the information that I've been able to put together and put on conferences. So I started Awaken America Cannabis Conferences as a way to help people understand cannabinoids, cannabis. I've had different researchers, doctors, patients, parents of children who are using cannabis. Quality of life is what it's all about. Veterans groups, cannabis nurses. Everybody has something to say, but they need a stage to speak on, and that's what Awaken America Conferences was created for.
I have tears in my eyes, but I'll try to say something anyway, or Casper will yell at me. But it occurs to me that one of the greatest Jews that ever lived, some fellow named Jesus or something, the greatest Jew that ever lived, perhaps, what was he? Rabbi. What does rabbi mean? Teacher. Mm-hmm. Rabbi is a teacher. We are teachers. It's not because we want to. It's not because we have to. It is what we are. That's why we're here. We're teachers. And we never need to let that get out of our mind that we're rabbis.
Thank you.
It matters.
It does. Just to see the opportunity, the clarity that people have. You know, I often, when we do these things, these events, on my website, I get continuous emails asking for help and support and more access and knowledge. And it's fielding not only from the United States, but from around the world, just wanting to know more. So this has been a really great journey of educating people, building, and doing my part.
Well, you know, it's amazing too. People like you are also involved with organizations like Patients Out of Time, Cannabis Patients Out of Time, Marilyn Mathery, Al Burns. They have a program here on the network each week, and they do Healthy Mondays on my show each week. And it's because of their hard work and your hard work that people are able to go through what is a natural process that also terrifies us all. Actually terrifies us all. But it doesn't make any difference how scared you are. We're all going through it. So just suck it up. And people like you and Mary Lynn and Al are there to help at that time. It's just horrific. I was just thinking last night. Death is the only thing that I hate about love. Because you have to say
Death is easy.
You have to say goodbye to the person you love when they die, and that is not hard.
No, you don't.
But
I'm
anyway,
sorry. I have to interrupt. Death is the easy part for those that die. It's only hard for those that don't.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. It's just horrific. I've got some that are passing away around me, and I horrifically miss them so much that the inside of me is so empty, and I ache so bad that I'm almost immobile and paralyzed if I even have a thought of them in my mind. So it's nice that people like you are able to take what is handed to you, lemons, and make lemonade so that those around you can enjoy the drink.
Well, thank you so much. I look at it now. I look at everyone as, not as my my daughter. You have that passion. You have that part of you, that being that just says, this could be your way of helping your daughter. And I look at that every single time. That's the energy. That's the motivation. And this has not been one thing that you can make. This has never been intended to make any money or anything. It's only been about education and information. And I just hope that more people become cognizant of spreading the word, because spreading the word and educate themselves so that they can be beacons and transmit that information to others.
What was the thing that surprised you most in your journey that you learned that you didn't think you'd be learning?
About the different disorders that cannabinoids really have success with, and it's case by case. I see other people who are taking different ratios and so forth, but to understand that if a 20-to-1 does not work for you, don't stop. For instance, a very, very good friend of mine, my best friend, has been plagued with chronic pain for 35 years, and just recently started using cannabis. They ended up using topicals. Topicals were working, but they were having more issues of fibromyalgia, chronic pain, neuropathy, and they have diabetes. So they're really plagued with a lot of pain. I mean, we're talking from a scale there. She's completely about an 8 or a 9 all the time. And just recently, we had an opportunity to use a particular product, the external, internal, and it brought it down to about a 4.5, which was great. I mean, that's quality of success, It gives her the ability to, for that pain not to be the center of attention. It allows more things to take place. But so she tried the internal, and then there was another product that came into my sphere. Well, this is a 20-to-1. Well, she tried the 20-to-1. It did not work. So I did get another 1-to-1, same company. It brought her pain from a 9 all the way down to a 1. If she would have stopped at a 20 to 1, then she would have, I see patients all the time say, it don't work. And they move on. It depends. Each one of our bodies are so different. My twin brother, I don't have a twin brother, but if I had a twin brother, our fingerprints would be totally different. And the way I consume cannabis would be the same, totally different. Our body, our genetics are going to be differently. The way that we consume products and so forth, it's just going to be totally different. So you have to look, it's case by case. This is the first time in U.S. history, U.S. pharmacopoeia history, that we're going to have to take 100% responsibility for our own therapeutic protocol. And people just have to be cognizant that the more that they know, and not to give up, because the cannabinoids are in our system. The phytocannabinoids that the plant makes are synergistically working. That's that repair and replace. I'm a believer in the full spectrum, right? Being able to have them all. Not limiting any, but utilizing, because synergistically that information that each one of those cells are going to receive from the cannabis information is going to make a big difference in our life.
Well, I believe in synergy as well, and that's how we pay our bills here at Time for Hemp, is by applying that synergy to everything we do. And we ask that when you come to timeforhemp.com, you make it a point to click on the banners and let them know that you heard about them here on the big broadcast. We're going to take a break and make that happen, and then we're going to listen to a song about how wonderful cannabis is. And then when we come back, we're going to pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
How would you like to have all the best cannabis info all in one place? Canafo.com is the Google, Facebook, and Craigslist of cannabis. It even has its own social media platform. Canafo.com puts the world of medicinal and recreational cannabis in one place for consumers, businesses, and growers. Canafo.com is a free service where you can find over 9,000 different strains of cannabis, shop cannabis classifieds, and much more. Canafo.com is the world's most comprehensive source for all things cannabis. Get in the know with Canafo.
Doctor, old doctor, I'm a feeling mighty bad. I'm a hurting from my head down to my feet. Tell me, is it true? All I need is a note from you, and I can get me some of that wonderful wacky weed. Medical marijuana. Some folks say they ought to legalize it 'cause it takes away all pain. And everybody knows everybody must get stoned, and that's a good enough a reason, wouldn't you say? It's a miracle healing smoke. Just take a couple tokes and you'll be feeling all better real soon. It's bound to cure what ails you,
Guaranteed, you betcha you'll be flying high way up in a balloon. Medical marijuana, some folks say they ought to legalize it 'cause it takes away all pain. And everybody knows everybody must get stoned, and that's a good enough reason, wouldn't you say? Side effects are these: you might get the munchies and start laughing for no reason at all. Time gets out of whack, paranoia gets pretty bad, and you might spend hours staring at the walls. Medical marijuana, some folks say they ought to legalize it 'cause it takes away all pain. And everybody knows everybody must get stoned, and that's a good enough reason, wouldn't you say? I can grow my own. I've got a green thumb, you know, and maybe sell some extra on the side. So if you're on a mission and you've got a prescription, you'll be feeling fine in no time. Oh, medical marijuana, some folks say they ought to legalize it 'cause it takes away all pain. And everybody knows everybody must get stoned, and that's a good enough reason, wouldn't you say? That's a good enough reason, wouldn't you say?
The government says that there is no medical value to this plant, and the government needs to learn how to do a Google search. And if they do a Google search, they can do what a 12-year-old can do and learn about all the wonderful research that has been done on this remarkable plant. It is Time for Hemp. You are listening to Time for Hemp on the Global Broadcasting Network on Roku, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, SoundCloud, any place where they have really cool, and I do mean really cool apps to listen to on smart devices, you will find Time for Hemp. And we have as our joint host today, Judge Lenny Frieling. He is our joint host today. And we have as our joint guest today, Rudy Roma on the break broadcast. And Judge Lenny and Rudy were chatting about all the wonderful aspects of medical cannabis that our government says does not have, and his personal experience and all the things that he has learned that this plant can do firsthand. And with that said, Your Honor, I will let you get back to your joint chat with our joint guest here on the big joint broadcast while I get back to my joint here. Ooh, my golly, at Time for Hemp.
Glad to be back. Rudy, am I the only one in the world that reads the patent held by the U.S. government, by the government for the Department of Human Resources, I guess, reads it, sees a patent on the antioxidant effects of marijuana, and then scratches their head and says, how can a government on one hand say no good, does nothing, and at the same time out of the other hand saying, oh, we'll give you a patent because this works? Does that make you scratch your head on one side or both?
Not only does it make me scratch my head on both sides, it really I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't see how you could demonize one thing yet look at another at the positive effects. I mean, the incredible positive effects of what cannabinoids can do for people. So I don't get it. Don't get it. Don't understand.
It's easy. It's just like women. Just like women. There's this wonderful positive side and this other side that, frankly, we will never get.
And for those of you who want to send your cards and letter in, you can send your cards and letters to Judge Lenny Frieling and care of Time for Hemp. Thank you very much. Okay, back to your joint chat.
Thanks, Casper. Now I'll never have sex again in any form. Great. I appreciate that a lot, my friend.
Rudy, so now you put together this really groovy organization. Tell people what it is that it really, I mean, I've got some medical problems and I'm dying, or I know someone who does, right? All right. We contact and reach out to you. And what ways are you able to assist, either locally or nationally or even internationally?
Okay, well, first of all, we have a website, 420insight.com. That's 420INSIGHT, insight.com. And we're actually 420 Insight is a healthcare information company focused on medical cannabis education for patients, healthcare providers, service providers, and dispensaries. Our mission is to provide unique, relevant content about cannabis to enable patients to improve their own care. With their trust and permission, we hope to start building out a cannabis patient network. And the cannabis patient network is going to be where we're going to be able to help patients with different disorders, asking a series of different questions, HIPAA compliant, not utilizing a username and so forth. But this is going to enable patients to offer their data, their information, which is really important because at the end of the day, patients need to find ways of utilizing cannabis. And do we know? No. Only 13% of medical universities teach about the endocannabinoids. Usually, they're less than a few hours sessions. Nonetheless, doctors are not educated about the cannabinoids, endocannabinoid system, and fail to offer any insight in that. So this is one of the reasons why the CPN Cannabis Patient Network is our form of working with patients to help patients throughout the community. And what I've done is I've done focus groups with hundreds of patients and asking them the question: would you help? Would you be willing to offer your information to help other patients? No. Out of 100, it's been 100%. I would do that. Because we don't know what we don't know. There's 180 million people with chronic pain in the country, yet there are only less than 3 million medical cannabis recommendations. So you're looking at a whole, community of people who are just facing pain, chronic pain, and not having any answers. So I do have we do have a system that is working in place to help develop so that we can offer information back to the community, at least to give them an area where to start, where to begin, and then in addition to that, a telehealth portal where doctors and nurses can answer any questions that patients are needing of any assistance with. And this is a really important thing because you go to the dispensaries, which are pharmaceuticals. That's a pharmacy. Those bud tenders are our Canatechs, right? They're our pharmacists. Do they know? Are they able to offer information? Some are more educated than others. A lot of them, I go to hundreds of dispensaries. I've gone to hundreds of them, and I still see that there's a lack of education and knowledge and so forth. So that's one of the reasons why I visit them and I let them know about 420 Insight. I let them know about the Awaken America Cannabis conferences, just to help better them so that they can offer more insight and information. And then they can let people know that we have a website, we have conferences, and they can get informed. They can take part into this revolution, to change the dialogue. That's what needs to happen. We need to change the dialogue. This is not the boogeyman. This is life. This is quality of life.
I'm just thinking about the problem we have is that we dislike education. We absolutely forbid the sharing of knowledge. And at the same time, we all think progress will magically happen in the background. You may or may not have noticed that on the signature line of some of my emails, I use a phrase I came up with: shared knowledge is power. It's not the way it's been said before. I don't want it to be, and I believe in what I say. In the old days, we couldn't share knowledge. We couldn't send an email to 50 people saying, I just discovered the cure for crowded closets. Whatever it is, we can do that now. We can send a letter to 50,000 people if we think we have something to say, and sadly, if we have nothing to say. But my point is, repeating, shared knowledge is power. There are some of us.
Go ahead. Go ahead,
Casper.
I was going to say, shared power is knowledge, and there is some knowledge I'd like to share with every member of Congress. I would encourage them to pick up the book called Final Exit, and maybe they can get some use out of that particular book. It's a book about assisted suicide, so maybe they can benefit from that, every member of Congress. And then every one of us can benefit from a book called How We Die, and it was written by Sherwin B. Newland, and it was a book that I read when I had to organize my world when someone I cared very much about was passing away, so that I would be able to assist them in what they were going through. And so you're right, shared knowledge is power, because it gave me the power to be strong for them and to help them in every way that they needed, with a smile on my face like they really needed me to have.
Nice.
Yes, very good.
So, Rudy, that's one of the things your group does now. Are there people in other areas that are like working with your chapter, with your organization, that are like
yes,
communities?
I'm putting other organization groups. I'm aligning with others. I'm really big into not recreating the wheel. You know, if you have a grid process in place, I want to align with your system. You know, as long as it's following the letter of the law and really doing what you're saying you're doing. There's a lot of people out in this particular industry that, they put on a face, but there's other ulterior motives. And, you know, I've had issues over the last several years of working with people, and unfortunately they are, they're in it for the wrong reason. I'm in it for a different reason. And needless to say, I'm still here. They're gone. And we're moving forward. So we're on the train, and I love to establish relationships with other organizations. I'll be giving more information out once our agreements are in place.
All right, Your Honor.
Boy, I couldn't say it better than that. That was good. Education, knowledge, sharing it. The more we know, and this is deep, man. The more we know, the more we know.
The more we know, the more we know. Think of it this way, Judge Casper. If you had 80,000 people with chronic pain, and yet you had in the community, and you had the opportunity for them to share this information, and as it filters and the data starts to aggregate, and then you start looking at what gave most of this particular community with chronic pain as their first disorder, what gave them the most success in terms of quality of life? Was it what particular strain? What was it? What was that? You know, this is really important information, because if I walk into this particular community, I'm going to have the opportunity to take a look at everybody who's facing the same disorder that I am, and I can now put my finger on something. I can look at this pie chart that shows that 42% of people with chronic pain are utilizing this, and this is the cannabinoid that is helping most, or that this particular strain is the one that's helping most. I can go there. I'm looking for quality of life. I can search that out and see whether or not that's the one that's helping most, and see whether or not that works with me. If it doesn't, I then can follow the path of what other people have offered in terms of information. So this really kind of helps me out. Then we have the cannabis patient. I mean, we have a telehealth part where you can communicate with healthcare practitioners, to help on their journey. So this is really an important way of offering quality of life to patients.
Well, that has also been one of the things that has frustrated me about this whole movement. And even in the states where it's legal, there is no data. It's still impossible, absolutely impossible for me to walk into any dispensary and know for a fact that this strain that I'm going to be using is going to not make me tired, not make me sleepy while I'm at work and trying to be creative, or it's going to take care of the pain, or it's going to work with this. And if it also, I can't be sure that it is X amount THC, X amount cannabinoid, X amount this. It's not got yellow dye in it. It's not been pissed in by a rat in somebody's house. Some cat walked over it, cat hair, whatever. And that is even true with the edible medibles. And I just keep thinking, people, even though we are having a change in law, that doesn't mean that we're not having a change in common sense. We got to be able to know what's going into our system. I mean, good golly, I can look at the side of a toothpaste box and see what the toothpaste is made of and be certain that by law they followed that, and if they don't, they're going to be shut down and put out of business. I don't have to fuss with that. It's been covered for me already, and I don't have that with any aspect of this industry. Edibles, medibles, food, recreation, or anything that I need for my body for medical purposes, and it agitates the heck out of me, to say the least.
I agree. I'm part of Focus, which is the foundation of Unified Cannabis Standards, or Cannabis Unified Standards, Focus. And it's about regulations and standards that need to be in place. And we're working diligently with many states and counties to, in part, put some of the standards that are needed in this particular industry, whether it comes from lab testing, facilities, transportation, distribution, logistics, cultivation. All these things need to have regulatory oversight, and Focus is the only one that's ANSI certified. So we're working towards offering great solutions.
Well, I believe in being focused as well. We're going to focus on paying our bills here, and then when we come back from taking this commercial break, we're going to pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp. You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. Please share us with your friends.
Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico. Last year, my state became the 12th state to allow medical use of marijuana by patients who are seriously ill. Groups like the American College of Physicians, American Nurses Association, and American Public Health Association have all acknowledged the medical value of marijuana. To learn more about medical marijuana and what you can do to help, contact the Marijuana Policy Project at 1-877-JOIN-MPP or visit them on the web at mpp.org. Thanks.
Well, now, chocolate cake makes my poor stomach ache, and all those pills are too much for me to take. I don't like cocaine cause it makes me all uptight, but coffee and reefer makes me feel alright. Crystal meth makes
Yeah, coffee and reefer does make me feel all right. I can certainly tell you the first thing I do when I roll out of bed in the morning is get myself a great big cup of Joe. And then Joe gets out of bed and gets dressed, and then I make myself a cup of coffee and pack myself a bowl. The next thing you know, I'm in front of my computer doing what I can to help end this horrible prohibition. If you're sitting there watching the Idiot Box trying to figure out who the next big voice is going to be, or if Tabitha is going to have witch powers causing Darren to leave Samantha, I suggest you get up off that couch and put one foot in front of the other and get out that door and become part of the solution and stop sitting there being part of the problem. With that said, we're going to get back to our joint chat here with our joint guests here in the big joint network at the Time for Hemp Global broadcast. I want to remind you that we are growing cannabis 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on our website, a legal cannabis garden. So if you're from Homeland Security or DEA and you happen to be tuning in, make it a point to take notes and share that with your friends, too, so that they can go home and grow their plants a little bit better as well. Welcome back to the broadcast. Judge Lenny Frieling will be joining us here in one moment. He is hitting his pipe, but we have Rudy Roma here on the big broadcast talking about his fantastic organizations and the things that they do. Also know that you're involved in putting together educational programs and seminars, and you work with other organizations to make that happen in other states. And do you get speakers that come in, and do you do Skype chats? There's a learning seminar. Are they accredited so that people can go back to their universities and get credit, too, for being part of the universities, the things that you do? I know that Cannabis Patients at a Time have accredited programs as well, sometimes on their website. And so with that said, I will pass that question to Rudy. And when after he's done with that, of course, we'll be back to our joint chat with Judge Lenny Frieling. Anyway, Rudy, so is that the deal? How do you got conferences, you got educational programs, seminars, what?
Absolutely. And developing out a cannabis patient network. This is where we can identify and deliver elements of a therapeutic infrastructure. This is where clinical knowledge, drug knowledge, care management tools, and discovery tools will help patients.
And when someone wants to get involved with what you're doing, do they...
what they can do is they can go to 420 Insight, and there's a membership there. Or you can email me directly. It's rroma, that's RROMA, at 420INSIGHT.com. That's for rroma at 420insight.com.
Now, you say you're also very active in other aspects of the movement. In what ways?
Well, I'm also the founder, co-founder of Greenwave Marketing Solutions and Distribution. So I have distribution in California and marketing. So for over the last 17 years, I've owned a marketing design company, and we're offering those services for the cannabis community. Everything from beginning branding, development, to packaging, regulatory oversight on the packaging itself from state by state to national. So we have a lot of experience and knowledge that we can bring to the table for those people considering to take their product, either that's existing now and take it to the next level and rebrand, which we're doing right now to others, or from idea concept to enter the marketplace. So we can take them from marketing solutions to distribution.
Well, that must be pretty exciting in today's new cannabis market, because so much of what's happening now is all new. It's almost like the 60s when they were coming out with all the new Etch-a-Sketch toys and all the battery-operated toys and computer toys, because this industry is now offering so many different products and so many companies new avenues to grow. What are some of the things that you have found on the market that are of real benefit to our audience?
Well, the medicine, there's a lot of good medicine that's out there. There's a lot of medicines that need to have some oversight. I think that people need just to know about the different methods of consumption. You have the smoking, you have vaping, you have the topicals, you have the salves, the bombs, the transdermal patches, suppositories. So you have all these different methods of consumption, and people need to understand that, it's just not about smoking. It is about having an understanding about your body, because internally you can take something that you can take a sublingual that would be great for internally for your body, depending on whether or not you have more of a neurological or you have more of an immune issues. So that's that, having that and having an understanding that if something doesn't work doesn't mean that it's not going to work. You just haven't found one that's working completely with your body. So people just have to be cognizant just to understand. Like, for instance, when I had mentioned in the past, if we would have stopped at a 20-to-1, even if it was a 10-to-1, those weren't going to work as effectively as the 1-to-1. So people just need to know that they have to, this is a journey. And just like when you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you a prescription and it doesn't work, what does he do? He gives you another one. Okay, right. This is the same thing, but this is all natural. These are phytocannabinoids that are working synergistically with our endocannabinoid system. Go figure, to help us make us feel better, to make us, to help our bodies, to tell the information to repair and replace.
Well, other than that, besides the medicine, have you come across anything that's made you go, that's a product that everybody needs to know about? Anything like that?
Oh, well, I'm working in terms of products.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's several. There's the external and internal. They're now in 6 different states.
And what's that?
They have a full spectrum. It's basically raw cannabis infused in the proprietary blend of safflower oil and essential oils, of which I'm talking topically. Our body, our largest organ is our skin, correct?
Right.
And so when you can put something that immediately can reduce the pain and inflammation in areas topically, that's been a journey that I've been seeing more and more people take that part of the application using that particular method. So the external and internal are great products. They've got salves, balms, creams, soak, body wash. So they have a full skincare line. In addition to that, they have a new internal, which is great. It's a full spectrum for people who have epilepsy, Crohn's disease, just a lot of different disorders. So that's one. Then we have Pure Ratios. Pure Ratios is the first 96-hour transdermal topical patch. And that's with full spectrum cannabinoids in addition to essential oils like turmeric, black pine, frankincense, and 2 other essential oils that are about to reduce inflammation. So we're talking a 96-hour transdermal patches that's been really changing the life of people who have been taking tinctures, who have been taking other methods and have not worked. This is actually working. So quality of life is coming in that particular direction. I have another company out of Humboldt County. They're called CBD Alive, and that is they have a 1-to-1, a 10-to-1, and a 20-to-1. So that's another great company of which I'm sure that they're going to be advertisers.
Are these available in different states, or do you have to be in certain states to buy those?
The external, internal are in 6 states: Washington, Colorado, Oregon, California.
And can they be shipped?
They have licensing agreements in those states.
All right, because you got to be careful. I know different states.
They've got licensing agreements. They're being manufactured in those particular states. No different from like Open Vape and Dixie.
Oh no, but what I meant, like, people in Indiana are not allowed to have any type of medical marijuana or marijuana of any kind. So can they order that medication and have it shipped to Indiana?
No, because it's cannabis.
Okay. That was what I was trying to get at.
Unfortunately.
Gents, that's incredibly important. Yes. I hear at least once a week, CBDs have been legalized in all states now. Hemp is in marijuana. It's been legalized in all 50 states now. Well, I've been practicing criminal defense for damn close to 50 years now. That is not my opinion. It ain't so.
Right. So that's what I was trying to be careful of, asking people interested in that and they're hurting in Kentucky, can they pick up the phone and order that? Well, we are down to the last 3 or 4 minutes of the big broadcast, Your Honor. You got any last big questions for our guest, Rudy, Your Honor?
Yes. Have we finally proved that Einstein was more right than even he thought he was with the gravity wells and the gravity holes and the black holes that we've been reading about over the last several weeks? If you have not been reading about the progress in Einstein's theory of relativity in the last several weeks, you're smoking the wrong thing. Switch to a sativa. There's big news going on. Our focus doesn't need to be on what can I smoke, doctor? It should be on, okay, what's the next step in Einstein's work? Where do we go next? Let's think about something that's worth our mental energy and not something that should be, frankly, just taken for granted.
Right. This plant should be legal.
I agree. Thank you. Very, very well said.
And Rudy, do you want to put a spotlight on any particular organization or event that's coming up this summer? This will be broadcast sometime next week, or, but I would at least put a spotlight on your organization and things.
Oh, sure. I have many. Unfortunately, I didn't come prepared with those dates and so forth.
Well, no, because this is pre-recorded and I play it over and over anyway. And I'm going to be editing this section here, just so I do pre-records. But this is a good time to give a spotlight on your organization and your website and what people.
Certainly. For information about 420 Insight and is www.420insight.com. That's 420insight.com. And more information about our conferences, you can go to awakenamerica2420.com. That's awakenamerica2420.com. Thank you so much. And if you're interested in any packaging, marketing, or distribution, my email is office at greenwavedistribution.com. That's office at greenwavedistribution.com.
And Your Honor, I know you got a pet canary that you'd like to talk about.
We have been working for over 2 years now on an iPhone application under My Canary app, mycanaryapp.com, with the focus being on looking at behavior, reaction speed, short-term memory, balance, things that are related to performance, as opposed to trying to make guesses based on body chemistry.
And it's a way of people knowing whether or not they're competent enough to drive as well, correct?
Unless they want to run a table saw. If they want to run a table saw and really don't care how many fingers they have and really can't count quite 10 anyway, then I recommend not using our product.
Right, but that's what I mean. That's a good thing about this. People can use this as a way of determining whether or not they should drive, etc., correct?
Absolutely. You compare your behavior to your own previously set baseline behavior.
And people one more time can get that where?
Did you say mycanary.com?
Or is it mycanaryapp.com?
Boy, I'm glad one of us has a brain. Sadly, it's not me. mycanaryapp.com. Now, in my own defense, if you do a search on iTunes, you will find it under My Canary. But the website, the link, the science paper, the explanation, all the rest, mycanaryapp.com.
And with that said, I want to remind people that we are 24-hour a day, 7-day a week, all cannabis, all the time broadcasting network, the only one in iHeartRadio. Also find us on iTunes, Tumblr, SoundCloud, Roku TV. 20 hosts of the network, trying to let the whole world know how important it is to end Prohibition Growing Cannabis Live. All of our MP3s are downloadable for free, so you can share. And also you can find cartoons there, lots of great editorials that are pretty poignant, and there's all kinds of wonderful surprises. And never forget that Time for Hemp is like a good joint. It's always best when you share us with your friends.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes.
In the Beatles anthology, Paul McCartney, then George Harrison, then Ringo Starr, then their agent Mel Evans spoke about the Beatles' use of marijuana.
The climate was influenced by the psychedelic era, as you want to call it. I think the only difficulty about talking honestly about that period is that now the drug scene is a much heavier thing. And if you're now in any way seen to incite or advocate drug taking, you're now talking about crack, you're now talking about glue sniffing, you're now talking about life-threatening things. So I don't actually like doing it because of that. It can easily be misconceived. If you could go back to the period and everyone could understand how the period was and kind of how innocent it was, then it is easier to talk about it.
It mightn't have affected creativity for other people. I know it did for us, and it did for me. I mean, the first thing, that people who smoked marijuana and were into music is that somehow it focuses your attention better on the music, and so you can hear it clearer, or that's how it appeared to be. You can see things, or you could see things much different. I mean, LSD was something else, it wasn't just, marijuana was just like having a couple of beers, really, but LSD was more like going to the moon.
We found out very early on that, if you played stoned or derelict in any way, it was really shitty music, So we would have the experiences and then bring that into the music later. Famous old story of one of the cleaners at the Hammersmith Odeon saying, he said, that Ray Charles must be a mean git, He said, I just saw two of his musicians in the toilets sharing a cigarette. He can't pay them anything.
I knew that the boys smoked pot, and they equally knew that I disapproved. And they never did in front of me. They would always have Mel roll them a joint, and they'd nip out into the canteen and lock it, or else go into the loo and have a smoke and come back again, beaming all over their faces.
We mainly wrote in the afternoons. I'd either go to John's house or he'd come to mine. So I'd sort of drive out to Weybridge. Now, you don't want to be stoned doing that. So we'd go out and we'd have an afternoon of it, and it would be later, listening in the evening, that the little wine might come out and this and that might come out. But I say, it's very difficult for me because I realise now, being a father of 4 kids, that if I make this sound as exciting as it was, the natural corollary is for someone to sort of say, well, why don't we write like that? And I don't want to be seen to do that. Because now, as I say, it's a much more dangerous ballgame.
Free? Did you say free? Free hemp? Free hemp? Free hemp video and audio? Free downloads of all the top artists, all the pot artists on planet Earth. Interviews with all the people making the movement, making the hemp movement. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp. That's right, world. It's time for hemp.